welcome back to the Dance of Evolving. I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend and a great start to the week. I have a different topic for this week, and I thought it was necessary because, well, I think everyone who's been tuning in here, which thank you for all of you who have subscribed. And if you haven't yet and you like this content, go ahead and hit subscribe. And of course, if you like this content, don't forget to like and share if you find anyone who you think might also connect with this, and spread the word and the bell for notifications. But for those of you who have been tuning in, I can tell that you are also on a spiritual path, or, just like waking up to certain things in life as well. And we're all kind of growing together. So I thought today's topic of the stages of the spiritual path, and really asking yourself, am I in the 3D, 4D, or 5D? And certain questions I've been asking myself, like throughout the, what is the 4D? And what does it really feel like to be in these different stages? And is it okay if I dip back into some of them? Yeah, so there's really no right or wrong in this. I think the biggest thing is self-awareness. But today what I want to do is I would like to describe to you what it's like to be in each stage, and how this is truly a continual dance of going back and forth, and with the ultimate goal of being able to stay as much in the 5D as possible. So let's go ahead and start with the 3D, where we really all currently start. And it's really the ego versus spirit led. And if you're like, well, what's the ego, Anna? I mean, when we think of ego, it's like we're in the 3D. It's external things giving us status and pleasure. That's really how we know we're in our ego. It's a world-based ego. And if you're like, well, what is ego? Ego is essentially the drive of our inner child to be loved. And and by the way, if you need to skip or watch this in segments, I've created chapters, and you'll be able to see in 3 different segments how I've separated 3D, 4D, and 5D. So if you need to watch this at different times, that's something new I'm doing as well. So right now we're focusing on 3D. So it's essentially the drive of our inner child to be loved. We don't realize it, but this drive of our inner child to be loved is the intention that subconsciously drives everything that we do. It's a void. It's never enough, unfortunately. So it needs to be constantly fed. It's not a great thing, guys. It can get exhausting, and it's the pursuit of things. So many people don't even realize that it's not that it's happening, and that it's not fulfilling. So a person could work years upon years to to be able to get one particular car, and then they get that car and they're like, well, this didn't make me happy. So it's a constant drive for a need for things, thinking that, well, if I just have this, then I will be happy. It's thinking that you're looking for love for external things because you're seeing it separate from you, or you're looking for stability or safety or security, and you're seeing it separate from you, like something that you have to chase after. That's when you know that you're in the 3D. When your ego sees it as something, well, I need to go and look for this externally. And it's exhausting. The pursuit in the 3D is an exhausting thing. And I'm telling you this from experience. Even when you think about passion and excitement as something separate that you need to go out and get. So like you need to go chase this experience, or I need to work toward this vacation just to have fun. That's actually 3D. So eventually it will cause us to implode. It's like a dog eat dog mentality. And it is a very low vibration, and it's a never ending pursuit. So the beginning part of this video is it's going to be very real and blunt about the 3D. And it's based on a lot of experiences of what I have experienced. And I think of it even based on me being a child up to being an adult. So like when you think about being in the 3D permanently, it's detrimental to your health and to your mind. It causes diseases because you're in constant worry. It can cause a lot of mental issues. It can cause muscle tension. It's really detrimental to your health and your mind. And we'll be looking through a lens of what other people think. We're going to be comparing ourselves to what, other people. We'll be projecting also our subconscious, maybe limiting beliefs on what we think will make us happy, also on any experience that happens, from day to day. It's not a full awareness of our inner state because we're not in line internally with what our soul desires. So it's that whole our heart and our mind aren't lined up. So it's this constant out of alignment. And then we're driven by things that are not going to fulfill us. So if we catch ourselves thinking, well, I want to get money so I feel loved, or, I want to be successful, so there's some type of safety, or I want to get attention and feel famous so I can feel loved. It's really just our inner child saying, hey, I want to feel valued and loved. And so many scriptures actually pertain to all of this. And it's not the money or the wealth or the success that's the problem. And it's the love of money. It's the love of success. And it's what's stated when speaking of like idolatry even too. It's when we place these things on a pedestal. And we don't even mean to do it. We place these things on a pedestal because we don't know that we can have these things within us when we line ourselves up with the love of God and all of the tools that can already be placed within us that we already have. But when we go out chasing for them and we make them our number one goal and we step on people for it and everything, it's just it can snowball into something so huge. And because this is the 3D. So sometimes it can be extreme like that. And other times it can be very subtle. But like just the basic things, like I'm not talking about getting into this crazy state of thinking where you jump into a 4D or 5D, like, and you're not thinking about normal things. No, like having money and being abundant, having a roof over your head and providing for your family, like saving up for a vacation for your family that brings you joy, or providing time with your family and friends to create experiences. Like all of those are good things and have balance. But like when you make wealth and success and rising above others and having attention or comparing yourself to others, when all of these things become a focus for you and they become idols or because you don't feel love within or you don't feel joy and peace, this is ego, and this is when you are living in the 3D. And it's not going to work out. I mean, I think we have lots of lives to look at as research and experiences to show that it doesn't work out. If you hear snoring in the background, well, let's just stand. It's his nap time. And that is my pug. So this is when the ego is taken over and we're living purely in the 3D. And you're totally off balance. So even if you could be the youngest, like teenager, you might be depressed or in pain. Your subconscious truly drives everything you're doing and your ego controls you. This is when, you are so worried about what everybody else is thinking. And so if you catch yourself only feeling like a real person or a better person or, a certain status, if you have money or if you drive a certain type of car, or like if you live in a certain type of neighborhood or if you have a house, it's your ego speaking. And the more that you let your ego speak, it's going to be what defines you. So is the attachment that we place on any of these resources, it's really like, think about it. Do I have an attachment to these things? Because if so, that's what makes it unhealthy. So even like time is a resource, love is a resource, attention is a resource, money, but the attachment and the reason that we have an attachment. So first, and this goes into now, how do we step into the 4D? Well, first is the awareness. Be like, wait a minute, I see that I have an attachment to these things and I'm looking externally for validation. So there's the awareness. And then, okay, but what is the reason for this attachment? Like what emotion am I feeling? Like why do I feel the need to go and look for this particular thing? What am I lacking within myself? And then really, really like removing that attachment is where we move into the 4D. So, like, look at yourself with compassion when you notice this. And it's almost like the transition period is the 4D, truly. It's like if you find yourself looking for external things to feel better about yourself, that's your cue. You're like, ding, 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 let's go into the 4D now. And I think triggers are, and I've said this so many times, and I this year because I couldn't have said it prior to that because I didn't know it. Triggers are gifts. When you experience a trigger, when you find that, oh, I need this from this person or I need this from this situation. Why? If you're not neutral about things, I mean, well, okay, let's look. Like, why did one thing not bother me at all, but this bothers me so much? I mean, I think about certain baseball games. I could care less what's going on in that baseball game. But then in another scenario that I'm looking at, I'm like super bothered by it. That's a trigger because something within me is bothered by it and an unmet need within myself that I'm responsible for is making me feel like that has value on it and somebody needs to meet my need. We are all there with any scenario that we feel this way about. So if we think, well, I don't have money, so then I feel bad, or so and so doesn't like me, so I feel bad. Well, that triggers you to do the inner work. Now, I'm well aware that we need money to pay bills and things like that. So I'm not talking in that sense. I'm talking about thinking that you need to have a certain status with money and things like that. So at the moment when you feel this way, this is where you find, how do I cope with this? Look at the patterns that you've been doing to cope with it prior to that. Let's be real with some of our patterns. Some of us go out and seek for things. Some of us go out and party. Some of us stay busy. Some of us get angry. We all have different ways that we deal with things when we are not happy with the way things turn out. But look at the way that you can soothe yourself. I mean, personally, I journal. I look to God, I pray. I meditate. And I really observe myself and think, what emotion is making me feel this way? Okay, I'm obviously not going to depend on this external thing to bring me peace and joy and happiness. So what can I change about this? Because we need to look within, and that integration part is the 4D. If you have self-awareness, you're having a spiritual awakening. And you're seeing then a lot of those synchronicities. You're shifting into that self-awareness. And you're looking for information that you're trying to understand. When you're trying to understand yourself and you're trying to transform, well, my friend, you're in the 4D, and that's a lovely place to be. And a lot of us stay in the 4D for a while or dance back into the 4D, me personally. And it's, sorry, I'm getting over a little bit of a sinus infection. It's much better to be in the 4D than the 3D and to be unaware. So this is where it starts to not matter, like, what comes in. It's like if the abundance comes and if the love comes, you're like, oh, wow, that's a great plus. But when you're in the 4D, you're already starting to cultivate that within yourself. Like you're taking the time. I remember the first time I really, like, was like quiet enough. And I felt like my soul. And I looked around and I really took the time to look at nature and God's synchronicities and thought about how life is so much bigger than me and the impact that I could make. Not that somebody could talk about it when I was gone, but the ripple effect that it could make. These are the things that I'm talking about that happen in the 4D. You cultivate this love daily within yourself, And I didn't even realize, but I was cultivating self-love because that's value. That's the value of your soul outside of what you look like, what you're wearing, what someone thinks about you. It's like a divine creator placed you on this earth, and you're thinking that, wow, I have a greater purpose than just waking up and going about my day-to-day job and surviving. And I can make a difference. And then you start to look around. This is the 4D, guys. You start to look around, you're like, oh, so many other people on this planet are probably dealing with what I'm dealing with, and like want to feel this joy and want to feel this peace. And like I might want to look in their eyes and see if they're also feeling this. Maybe I can connect with other people instead of just like being a hermit all day. And do you need some days to fill your own cup and be a hermit? Yeah, that's fine. But you start to think differently. And many of us stay in the state and continue to grow. So 4D is like the ego integration. You're in the world. And again, listen, in the Bible, it says you're in the world, but you're not of the world. And it's kind of like that. It's the learning process. I'm in a learning process constantly. Every once in a while, though, 5D, let's talk about it. It's a whole other thing, guys. It's the integration of all of these things. It's like not seeking any external validation at all, at all. The 5D is the consistent seeking fulfillment of non-external things. It's like you wake up and you have that spark. It's not just happiness, guys, because happiness is almost like when we think of cause and effect, happiness is kind of like an effect, but it's like the true happiness. It's like the joy unspeakable that really can only come from above. Can only come from, this like this, you feel this like divine light. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's joy unspeakable. It's where you find fulfillment and peace and pleasure in an entirely different way. When you align with your own truth, like certain things come to you and they become tools to integrate you into the 5D. You start to notice things that you would never notice before. And you so yearn to stay into this state because you know it's where you belong. And it almost seems silly. It's like, oh yeah, you like this car or you like certain things on this planet, but those are just desires, and those are things that like would be nice. Those are not needs. And you already know that they will not change who you are as a person. And you already know that when you look at someone, that does not define them. Like, it doesn't matter what someone does in a career or how much money somebody has or what they're wearing. I'm sorry, but in the 5D, that stuff doesn't matter. It doesn't. Like, you see souls and you feel their spirit, and it's energy, and it's awesome. It's really cool. So like true healing is when you're continually doing the shadow work. This is what it takes. The inner child work. When you're doing the sustenance for yourself, when you sustain that stability, that state of being, as I spoke of before, within yourself. Oh, it's hard to explain. Okay. I grew up, I'm not going to lie, I think judgment is an interesting thing because God does not judge. God does not judge. And there was a lot of judgment. I feel like, I don't know, not with like my family or anything like that. I always felt very, very loved. And I think I'm so blessed, like with my family growing up. But when I think about certain ways and templates that I don't know, that I saw in the world, it's like, we have no right to judge. Because when you think in the 5D, it's like you know you're part of the darkness, but you've moved through it. And like, I don't know how to, okay, I think I do know how to explain. You're part of the darkness that's been your journey, but you also see that you're not the darkness and you're separate from it. It's like there's no way I could judge someone because I didn't just live in the 3D in the darkness, but like down some dark hallways, right? But that wasn't who I am. It's like almost like a tree goes through seasons. And that was a path that I had to go through to get to this now and to have this knowledge. So, who would I be to judge anyone going through the darkest hallway right now in the 3D? I see them with compassion, and I'm here to support in any way that I can and that I'm supposed to. So it's like you see others traveling through the darkness with compassion, knowing that they're not the darkness. They might just be in a season, and that they're all in this, kind of part to move in their part of the spiritual path when they're ready. And at this point, you'll feel this resilience and authenticity with yourself. And it's almost like my weakness used to be people pleasing. And I guess to prove my worth, yeah, sometimes. But it's like you can't even people please. You can't do everything you do has to be authentic, and it has to be in strength and love. And it's not even just to be authentic, it's also in the bigger picture of, well, if you do something out of guilt or fear or to people please, well, then you might be enabling something that's holding someone else back from growing. So you don't want to be part of that anymore. You want to help them grow, even by stepping away and making sure that you are acting in strength and love. It's just like a whole other frame of reference that you look from. And it's not that things are perfect or that things don't bother you. Like life is truly a dance. And so you continue to move. I mean, I'll move back into the 3D. Who knows what day? There's some days where there's a whole day where I'll be just moping and I got to get through some stuff. And I let myself do it. And I don't ignore things though. I don't suppress things anymore. And that is something that I've learned. I never knew that I suppressed things my whole life. And I learned from Untethered Soul, Michael Singer. I never knew that I had so many layers of things suppressed within myself, because I recognize now that when something comes up against me and it triggers me, I just sit back and I work through it, and I breathe and I figure out what I'm feeling and why I'm feeling it. And I work through it and I come out on the other end. And so we are spiritual beings living in a human experience. So we don't avoid that. It's not like we're like, oh, I'm not going to live in this world. No. And I like to have fun here too. I mean, I like to go out and dance. I like to communicate with other people. I love to meet new people. I will have some wine. I'll have some drinks. No, we live normal lives, but we have an awareness. And we can dance between all these different dimensions in such a magical way that we leave a mark that can leave a ripple effect on anyone who we encounter. So, and I don't know if like I know some of you study the chakras, but once you overcome the root chakra through the heart chakra healing, that's the dance you go through to the 5D, and to get to the level of consciousness that will like blow your mind. It releases you from holding back in life. And I don't know if you watched the inner workings video that I talked about with the short film, but like when you're constantly holding back in life and you're not truly living, well, life really isn't a dance. You're being controlled by your ego and by fears and by your subconscious. But when you have this bigger picture, you don't have to understand everything. The unknown can be okay. And you can look to the bigger picture. You can stay connected. What I love is I'm still learning actually like spiritual gifts that I might have, and I'm open to them. And I'm excited. I'm excited to learn new things. I don't know what's ahead for me. And I'll dip back into the 4D where I'm questioning things and I'm still learning. And then I step back into the 5D where I feel that alignment. And then I'm back into the 3D where I'm out of alignment and I'm like, oh no, and I have to go into hermit mode and you guys don't hear from me for a little while and I've got to figure myself out because nobody's perfect. And if somebody says they're perfect and they never struggle in the spiritual path, well, then I'm going to wonder how. Because it becomes spiritual, like just this, I don't know. When you start to think constantly each day, okay, how can I grow? How can I serve? It's like a spiritual nature. Your self-confidence flows. Then you don't have to worry about, all right, well, how am I going to make more money? Or how am I going to rise above this person? No, your abundance is provided naturally. You already know you're valuable and you're adding value each day and you're discovering in new ways because God is giving you all of these gifts and showing you how you can touch lives and you're growing more each day. And you're remaining authentic. All of the hard things, even that you continue to go through in the future, as you dance between the 3D and the 4D and the 5D, they're going to be gifts. And will some days you're going to be like, oh, this stinks. This is so hard. Yeah, you might feel like that some days. But overall, in the bigger picture, that every experience you're given is a gift because it's going to bring you to the point where you're not attached to the story of love or money or status bringing you validation. None of that can touch you anymore because of what you've gone through. So if you're going through a hard time, think, oh, this can be a tool to get me to that point where nothing can touch me. And how much more interested in your connection to the spirit you are instead of that stuff, or in the impact that you're having on others each day, or the energy exchanges that you're having with others. These are the things that bring you fulfillment, not thriving to get to the next position, to rise above the next person, to prove your worth. See the difference? And you're much more interested. Your main goal is to overcome yourself. It's like, because you know the impact it has on you, and then therefore the impact it has on other people. You see, the real healing is the removal of all attachment to this 3D stuff. It doesn't mean that it isn't present in your life. It's still there, but the energy is different. It's like you're not grasping onto it. It's simply there. Like it's unfolding with you. You're changing with it. Like you can study it. You're calm. You're at ease. You grow with it each day. It's what the Bible talks about with that path of serenity and peace. You can even catch yourself each day. If you find that you're having emotions, you stop with those emotions and you realize that emotions are a form of attachment to ego and you grow from it. The goal is to become neutral to all things that are happening. Think about what I said, how like I could sit here and a certain sports team will be on it. I won't be paying attention at all. But if something personal happens to me, oh, that tugs at my heartstrings. But you can see all circumstances from a neutral point of view. And then this can help us see relationships through a higher lens. It's not you, but we're separate. And then as we're doing this, make sure we're looking at ourselves through compassion and catch when we're looking at external things to feel better. And it's a cue to go within and think, how can I heal? How can I serve? Look within and look outside yourself. There's a quote that I have, and it's actually, I was sitting outside, so I was going to read it right from there, but I have it out here. So hold on. It says, okay, here we go. Letting go of yourself instead of serving yourself is the real paradigm shift. And I was like, yes, please. So like how the ego is serving ourselves all day. But letting go, our real goal, guys, is to let go of ourselves and to overcome ourselves in order to rise above and to really experience what this life is all about. So I hope this was helpful. Like I said, if you look, you should see that there are chapters separating it. And I hope this helped define the spiritual path and the difference between the 3D, the 4D, and the 5D. And I welcome you to dance between those with me and stay more in the 4D and the 5D. But if you go into the 3D, use it as a lesson learned and think, how can I rise above this? I appreciate you guys so much. And I just feel so much better that we are on the spiritual path together. If you have any comments or questions about this, feel free to comment below. I will be sure to respond. And if there's any other topics that you want me to address, you can also leave those down below. I will be actually adding my very first yoga kind of, this next video will not be content. It will actually be being able to add balance and stability outside of just content, but with your body and your mind. So it'll be a little mixture of yoga and meditation. So look for that this Thursday. All right, peace and love.